What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about 8 of the most common firearm malfunctions, so you know what to look out for. Stick around. Alright guys, so none of these malfunctions are actually going to be in any particular order. Some of them are going to happen more than others. Some are going to happen a lot more than others. It is what it is. Number 1 is going to be failure to fire. And it's kind of obvious based on the name, failure to fire. You pull the trigger, you hear a click, no boom. That's why it's important, if this does happen to you, to keep your barrel down range, preferably with you still shouldering it, keeping it down range, because you could have the possibility of a delayed discharge, although it's probably unlikely. It can happen. Number 2 is going to be a failure to extract, meaning you're at the range, you get a gun aimed down range, pull the trigger, boom. When the bolt and the extractor come back, it doesn't actually pull the spent casing out of the chamber. Now it depends on how lodged it is. Sometimes you can just shake it and it'll pop out. Sometimes you actually have to use a pick or some kind of tool to get in there and pull it out. If you're at that point, that kind of sucks, but it happens. If nothing else, use it as a learning lesson. Maybe throw a little hand tool kit in your range bag if you can, if you got space. Not a bad idea. Number 3 is going to be a failure to eject, or what's known as stovepiping. You're at the range, gun's aimed down range, click, boom, and when the bolt comes back, it gets hung up on the way forward again because your casing is stuck vertically inside. At this point, throw the safety on, drop your magazine out, rack your slide back. That should be enough to get it out of there, and you should be good to go. Number 4, a double feed. I think that one's probably pretty self-explanatory. For whatever reason, your magazine or your gun or either combination tried to feed 2 bullets at once. Sometimes a faulty magazine is to blame. Pop your magazine out, check and see that your feed lips that kind of go at a 45 aren't broken off. I actually had that happen on one of my Ruger PC Chargers when I was shooting it for the first time and couldn't figure out why the fuck it was stovepiping and double feeding and doing all kinds of it was bad. But as you saw in the other video, when I took it out to the range with the 50 round drum, that thing ran like a champ. But I digress. It's usually not going to be the gun. Sometimes it will. If you're using a polymer mag, check it out. As I just said, I've had them break on me. If it is the gun itself, you might want to delve a little further into that and figure out why. Depending on the gun, you can go on online forums. I'm sure you're not the first person who's had that issue. If it is a stock magazine, if it's an aftermarket, probably still a common issue. Number 5 is failure to feed, which can also lead to tip up. Tip up is when the bullet comes forward and it gets lodged against the barrel hood and doesn't actually go up into the barrel. It's sitting at about a 45-degree angle inside both the magazine and touching the top of the barrel hood. Now that one's a tough one. That could be any combination of the magazine, the gun, or the ammo. And it would kind of be on you to determine which one is actually malfunctioning on you. Number 6, an incomplete discharge, which can sometimes lead to a boom. What I mean by that, maybe you pulled the trigger, bullet went. You thought it went out the end of the barrel. You had a faulty cartridge. For whatever reason, that bullet got lodged 2/3 of the way down the barrel. If you don't know that, and then your gun is still cycling like it's supposed to, it's got another one chambered, you pull the trigger, you have a bullet hitting the back of a bullet, which means boom. At this point, it's imperative that you clear whatever obstruction, and in this case happens to be a bullet, out of your barrel. If you don't, boom. Number 7 is what's known as hammer follow. Hammer follow is when your hammer and your disconnector have a little bit of a disconnect, in that your disconnector doesn't grab the hammer when it comes back and the hammer follows the bolt forward, which will lead to you not being able to pull the trigger to do anything because your disconnector's not working. So depending on how many rounds are in there and depending on how bad your gun wants to act up, it might run away on you and basically turn full auto. Now it would depend if the hammer follow happens to be a isolated incident and then it just so happened to not on that one, you should be okay. It should just stop right there and you should be able to clear it and do what you got to do. On the off chance it's not an isolated, on the off chance it's not a little isolated incident and let's say your disconnector, I don't know, fucking got ground down too much now and it's not grabbing, there's a possibility of the gun running away on you. So the hammer's just gonna keep doing its thing. Yeah. Although it sounds fun, it's actually terrifying. Because at least with a full auto, you have control over it. Number 8 is a slam fire. In a slam fire, when the bolt comes back to eject the spent casing and then moves forward again, grabs the new round and goes to chamber it, it ignites it right there on the spot without you pulling the trigger. Now, depending on how far along in the process of did the bolt just grab it and it exploded for whatever fucked up reason, was the bolt halfway into the chamber and it happened to do it? Or was the bolt actually all the way into battery and it fired? If it was all the way into battery, might be a scary situation, but everything should be fine. If the bolt is not all the way closed and it happens, that could be a big time problem. If the bolt happens to ignite that cartridge right as it touches it, that might be a little bit of a problem because you might have gases and powder and a little explosion shooting out the side of the gun. I'd be hoping your face isn't on either side of the gun where that could be an issue, but then again, you do you, I guess. But yeah, guys, that about wraps it up for 8 of the most common firearm malfunctions that you'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to click the like and subscribe button so you can stay tuned for future videos just like this. And until next time, stay safe.